Hey guys, welcome back to the channel for my 5th Kenobi review. Today we'll be checking out part 5 of the series. A pretty big element of this episode is the flashback that we see, and I think this is definitely the strongest part of a very strong episode. And what I love about this flashback is that it doesn't all happen at once, but it's a flashback that plays out in parts throughout the entire episode. I found that to be very creative, and I found that this flashback complemented the present day story so well. It felt so relevant, the ideas that we were seeing in the flashback, they tied in really nicely to the present day story between Vader and Kenobi. Besides that, the flashback itself was just very well done. It was really nice to see Hayden back as Anakin after all these years, and he does a really good job here. I also very much enjoyed the music. It felt very reflective and very purposeful. But yeah, the flashbacks were great, told in a way that really helped the story. And I also really liked the way that they transition in and out of these flashbacks. For example, you'll see the flashback, you'll see Anakin and Obi-Wan fighting, and then they'll just cut to this shot of Vader blankly staring, and you can just feel his frustration and his rage. And these shots feel very intentional. At the start of this episode, the character Haja returns, and good. Honestly, he doesn't do too much in this episode, but it's nice to see him, a familiar face from episode 2, back here. I also really like the scene where we see both the Empire and the Rebels prepare for the invasion. Again, the music really stands out here. And then we get to see the second big flashback of this episode. And that's Reva's backstory, which is heavily implied and finally confirmed here. Yep, she was a youngling during Order 66 at the Jedi Temple, and she witnessed Vader strike down her friends and family. Yeah, another great flashback here. I really love how at times the camera will zoom in on Vader's face. In these shots, he appears psychotic. He appears completely unaffected by what he's doing. None of that was too unexpected, but what was unexpected is that apparently Reva this whole time has been trying to get revenge on Vader. This is very interesting. It makes her character so much more complex, and I really like the way that her trauma and grief is handled in the show. Then the battle starts. Nothing too special here, but Captain Tala finally meets her demise, and I feel like her death is like the characters' deaths in Rogue One, because the thing is, we don't get too emotionally attached to these characters, and I never really got too connected with Captain Tala, but still, we've traveled with her and seen her in these past few episodes, and enough to say that her death definitely is meaningful. Unlike the random pilot who died in the previous episode. Eventually, Obi-Wan decides to turn himself in, and Vader comes down, Obi-Wan breaks out, and we see this really cool shot where Vader tries to use the Force to stop the ship from leaving. I really love the way that visually this looks, but the ship does get away. This is when Reva tries to attack, and it goes horribly. Again, the parallels are so strong here. We see flashbacks of a young Reva as Anakin Skywalker comes down the hall. We see Reva defenseless, scared, and then in the present we see this, once again, this exact same thing happening. The fight itself is very good. It is very clear that Vader has the upper hand, and there's no real question as to who's going to win. Vader fights without a lightsaber initially, which is what we saw Obi-Wan do in the flashback. Again, love the relevance and connections here. And also, I just love the part where Vader stops the lightsaber from spinning. Just completely brings it to a halt. But yeah, Vader impales Reva, wins. And then the Grand Inquisitor shows up back from the dead. Yeah, of course he's back. I don't think there was really any question about if he ever died. And it's kind of silly that such a big portion of the fandom freaked out about his supposed death, because he very clearly was not dead. The Grand Inquisitor has some cool lines here, and he does his fair share of gloating. But yeah, it's nice to see him back, considering he was a character who was definitely advertised a lot in the show's marketing. They spare Reva, which is a fantastic idea that won't backfire at all. And Reva, through a broken transmission, finds out that Luke exists. And I think it's great that the series won't close out how it began on Tatooine. I think overall, this episode was really strong. My only criticisms are very small. So this episode gets the full 10 out of 10 for me. Definitely the best episode from Kenobi and possibly live-action Star Wars as a whole. Thank you for watching, guys. If you enjoyed, please leave a like, subscribe, share with anyone different you know, and I will see you guys next time.